Alrighty, folks. How's it going, everybody? Um, hey, Natalia. Nice to see you. Welcome back to the stream. I see that a lot of you are requesting Bach Suite No.1, so I figured I would do a lesson about it. It's one of my favorite pieces, so especially the Prelude. I think once you hear how it goes, you'll probably recognize it. It is very common in movies or commercials even. I think that cello guy did a video with it. Pretty cool stuff. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about it first. All right. So this is a suite. So something you have to realize is that suite is a series of dances. So well, Prelude in itself is kind of like it's like a preview of what the dances are going to be about. With that in mind, I'm also going to be explaining about music theory and things like that. If you don't know your chords and things like that, it's okay. I'll be explaining it as I'm playing it, as I'm writing it. But just keep in mind that a lot of the things about music theory that I'm talking about is pretty advanced. So like you learn about this stuff in college. So in college music theory classes, right? I just like to nerd out. So let's get started. All right, so I'm gonna break it down phrase by phrase. Hopefully that will help all of you folks in learning it and even performing it, memorizing it. I would highly suggest, so we're gonna play through it. Let's play. So first, let's look at just the first four measures, right? This is our first measure. All right, I highly recommend that you don't do the bowings. Let's play everything separately and slowly. All right, 3E and 4E and let's keep on going. Let's play through the whole four measures, okay? All right. Once again from the top. 4E and go until there. So, note-wise, it's not very difficult. I would say it's not difficult. We're in G major, right? So we have F sharp. And there's a couple of accidentals throughout the piece. I would say this piece is a lot more about string crossing with your bow. So if we just simply take a look at the bowing, I'll explain the bowing right now. Later when you see this pattern, you're going to apply the same thing, right? So the bowing pattern that I use, a lot of folks may argue, they're gonna maybe comment that this is a different fingering and bowing patterns. That's okay. This is what I was taught, and this is what I also kind of edited myself. And it's what feels comfortable for me. If you like it, go ahead, you can follow it. If you don't like it, that's fine, you can change it. Alright, so the bowing goes like this. So first three, and then the last 16th note is separate, right? And then the B, D, B, D is gonna go down bow. And then the next two beats, right, is going to be the opposite. So we start up bow and slur 3 16th notes, and then 1 down bow, and then all up bows. So if you do it without the notes, it'll be like this. Slowly first, kind of get used to that movement. It's like choreography. You have to dance also with your arm. Kind of think of it like that, right? It's very helpful if you're flexible with your wrist here, so you're not constantly moving your arm up and down, right? You can see how I'm only using the forearm and the wrist, right? As well as this finger extending and retracting like that. So that's the main bowing pattern that I do, right? So. Oh. So let's write that fingering down. So I do open 1, 2. We go back to 1 right here, right? Same bowing pattern. And then here we do 3, 2, 1. Same thing, and then 4, 1, open. Something to remind you here is this is 1, 3. Right? It changes here. So, another thing about the suite is it's based on a writing style or composition technique called counterpoint. Counterpoint is how to explain it. Counterpoint is when multiple voices, so voices in music, it means they're different. So think about a choir, right? There's the soprano, and then there's the alto, tenor, and then the bass, right? So that's why we call multiple voices. So counterpoint is basically when multiple voices have independent melodies, but yet they are following the chord patterns and phrasing, the harmonic rhythms of the piece. That was very complicated, but that's basically what counterpoint is. Imagine if you're just playing the chords on the piano, right? So I'm going to try and kind of explain what that means. And this is where theory comes in very handy. And just a warning, I'm going to be writing in like jazz notation. So if you have any questions, just write, drop a comment or write in the chat, right? All right, so here we have G, D, and B, right? So this is going to be G major. So if we play the notes in order ascending, that's gonna be G major, which is the key that we are in, right? So that G major. So in chord notations, when you just have the letter, that just means major chord, major triad to be exact. And let's go over here. The note changes to, so we have G, E, and C. And if we start on, just start on whatever notes and keep on repeating it in ascending order. Well, I mean, if you want to get technical, I guess it's a seventh chord, right? Because of that B. First one, I guess, if you want to argue about it. And we'll keep it simple. All right. So here we change to C major. Next part. So this, if you're familiar with the harmonic structures within a key, this is going to be the dominant, but the bass is going to have G on the bottom, right? So in notation, slash chords, after the slash, the note after the slash is what's on the bass, right? So normally it would be D dominant. So how do I know that? Because of the C natural and the F sharp, right? So that spells out D7, and then we go back to G here because it goes back to back to G. We play G, B, right? Once again. So, this is going to be a lot of information. If you don't understand it, it's okay. But, so, let me just explain it like this. If you remember in a scale, right, in a major scale or any scale, but we'll keep it to major scale, we have 7 notes and the 8th note keeps on repeating, right? So I'll just write that. You know what? Let's do this. I'll explain it like this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? We're in C major, so let's start all the way here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C will continue, right? C is the octave. Now, what triads are and what chords are is basically you're skipping a note and you're just stacking them on top, right? So if we skip a note from C, it will be a E, right? And then if we skip another note, it would be a G, right? So let me just write that down. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. if we do the same thing for D, it would spell out D, F, and A, right? C, E, G, D, F, A. And I'm gonna keep on doing that for rest of the chords. We have E, G, B. Yes, finally Bach, my favorite and my worst enemy. Ha! F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, A, C, E, and B, D, F. And then for octave it repeats, right? So this concept is very important. You already know the scale, right? I don't know why I did it in C major. Let's do it in, I'm sorry, this is gonna take a long time. So that'll be in C major. I'll leave it up there because this is C major. Now let's figure out for G major, right? Because that's the key that we're in. So G major has 1 sharp, F sharp. Sorry for the bad handwriting. G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Let's write F sharp anyways, and G, right? G, B, D. So G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, B, F sharp, A, C, and then it repeats with G, right? All right. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the numbers on top refers to the scale degree, right? The first degree meaning it's G, and then second note being A, third note B, and on, right? So if we follow the same idea but with chords, this is what happens. So we play G major, I'm jumping the gun. So G, B, D is a G major, right? G major. A, C, E spells out A minor. Okay. Yeah. Spells out A minor. Alright. Next degree is B. So B, D, F sharp would be B minor, right? And then fourth degree, C, E, G, right? So C major. D, F sharp A is D major. E G B is a minor, right? So E minor. And then F sharp A C. So if you know this, it's going to spell out a diminished chord. So I'm going to write F sharp diminished, like that. So diminished chords are when you stack minor thirds on top of each other, right? So if we start from F sharp, minor third above F sharp would be A, minor third above A would be C, minor third above C would be E flat, E flat or E flat. So keep that in mind. So in music theory, we write these chords also as, so when it's capital letter, it'll be, we also write the scale degrees. If the scale degrees are with chords, we write them in Roman numerals, right? And the Roman numerals are going to, if it's a capital, it's going to be a major. If it's a minor, it's going to be lowercase, right? So G major is capital 1, A minor is capital, 2, lowercase 2, B minor, because it's a minor, it'll be minor third, C major is that, 4, 5, and I'm just gonna put 7 here because it's an important thing. 6 is a minor, and 7 is a diminished. So this is very important to know in music theory. It explains a lot of things in a lot of pieces. If you learn this concept, you will also learn, you will also have a better understanding of how to improvise. And yeah, so this is gonna help a lot. Especially this to this. So dominant 7 going to the tonic, right? If you don't know what that means, that's okay. So this idea of dominant to tonic resolution is very important. You've heard it in music, you've heard it in classical music, right? So here, if we play D, right? D's are D dominant, D major. That's our dominant, and it resolves to G, right? So if we take a look, and also, just a quick thing, 4th degree is also referred to as subdominant. So this is jumping the gun. You may not understand what I'm talking about. This is, as I said, this is college level theory, so don't worry about it. So 4 is called subdominant. I'll just tell you what it is. Right? Dominant, tonic. So these are very important, and also the minor sixth is also considered a tonic. So what all this means is each of the chords, when they're placed in a specific degree of the scale, it's going to have a different flavor of sound, right? And it also has kind of a rule to it. If you're starting from tonic, you want to go to subdominant. Subdominant meaning it's less than dominant, right? Under dominant. And then you move up to dominant, and then that eventually resolves to the tonic, right? So you may have seen this before, you may have seen this chord chart before, but what I just described is 1, 4, 5, 1. So this is what we call a phrase. So when I say phrasing, usually you can find the endings by this. So this is called a cadence. So cadence usually refers to the type of ending of the phrase, okay? There's a bunch of different types of cadences, and I'll probably mention them. Don't worry about it. If you have questions about it, you can always Wikipedia until I explain it. But yeah, if you don't get this, it's okay. This is going to explain what I'm about to do while I'm playing this, right? That was a big tangent. I'm sorry. Let's keep on going. All right. So continuing on, after this, let's go here. Let's do the next 4. So once again, separate bows, right? So let's go until there for now, and I'm going to write the chord symbols now. Well, not the chord symbols, I'm going to write what chords they are, right? Alright, so here we have G, E, and B, right? So we have, if you stack that in order, it'll be E, G, B, right? Which we've seen before, right? So E, G, B, we have that. So we're actually going to the minor section right now, surprisingly. Well, not minor section, but we're going to E minor. The minus sign is minor in chord notation, just heads up. And then here goes to C sharp, G, A, right? So a big giveaway of when you're changing key signature, or you're kind of moving into a dominant sound, is when you see accidentals, or when you find some kind of tritone. So here we have the tritone of C sharp and G, right? So here we have the option of the chords that have that sound in it it's either going to be A dominant, or it's going to be E flat or E flat dominant, right? It's gonna spell out differently, but yeah. E flat. So we have G and then D flat, which is also C sharp, right? So we have those two options, but E flat, we're not playing E flat, so it's gotta be A dominant, A7. And then we go back here. If we take a look, so if you focus on this note, well, that already gives it away, right? So if we go to D major, right? And then we go to E minor once again. So D major is interesting because you can also go to B, right? Which kind of sets up E minor. So here it's E minor. And then A7. And then D. Right? We go from D major, which is the fifth degree, and then we go to E, which is a minor, right? So that is the phrasing there, but I would argue the blue phrase goes on further. So play it slowly without the bowing first, right? Here, second position. And then you cross over to G string, but maintain position, right? And then stay in position. You can tune that G with open G. That one's pretty straightforward, right? Open string. And then here, just follow the, actually, let me write it out. There we go. So here, stay in second position, right? One on the F sharp, 4, 2, 4, open, right? And you use the open string to shift shift down back to first position, and then shift back to second position. Let's keep on going. So let's go until there. I would argue the light blue phrase goes until here. Alright, so here, if we take a look, let's follow this note, this note, this note, this note, right? So we have E, C sharp, we have E again, right? E, G. So if we follow that, G, E, and then it sounds like it wants A, right? So this is going to be another A dominant, A7, A7, and then this resolves to D major here, right? You can see with all the arpeggios, right? So it's D major all the way through, right? Now, I say this is the ending of a phrase. Now, you jazz heads out there, I want you to see something really cool. The reason why I highlighted this section is because we're actually kind of modulating. So, as I said, the degrees of the scale degrees and chords have a relation, right? So in jazz, you guys all know about the 2-5-1 progression, right? Let's take a look from measure 5, 6, and 7, right? We have E minor, and then A dominant, and then D major. That's a classic jazz phrasing right there. I mean, it can't get any more obvious than that. And I think that's the reason why a lot of jazz musicians kind of, I don't know, take affinity to Bach, because it's so marked. The phrasing is marked really clearly. I think you can't avoid it. So, the cool thing is, when we play that, E minor the first time, we're kind of playing it as the minor sixth of G major, right? But Bach then suddenly adds a 5-1 to change to D major, because D major, if you remember, is the dominant of G. So kind of theoretically, it's really complex stuff. This is I love Bach because of that, because I get to nerd out about things like this, right? All right, so let me play the blue phrase with the bowing now, slightly under tempo. chord, sorry. Alright, so until there. Now we can see if we keep on playing the next part, let's mark the next part with purple. We start change it, as I said before, if you see accidentals in a piece, that's when we're kind of modulating and putting in chords or harmonies that are not part of the original key, right? All right, so let's figure this out. So we have G sharp, right? That's half step. So the fingering I have here, you kind of have to just, so find your G natural open G with your open G, tune it with your third finger, and then half step above with your fourth finger. That's your G sharp, right? Right there, if you stay in position, so that's gonna be, your first finger is going to be F natural. So that's the fingering and the position that you're going to have, as well as just when you play the F, E, F here, it's gonna be like that. Let me just, yeah. So this, I'm gonna play it all separate. So F, G sharp, open, F, second finger, and then the next phrase, instead of going back to fourth finger, we're gonna go to first finger for the third position, right? So, and that's because the B that comes after is right within our reach, right? Back to half position, right? That one's a little bit tricky, so let's try that one more time. So fourth finger half position, open first position, shift to third position, right? G sharp, B, stay in position, go back to first position, half position. There we go. So that's the fingering of that. I hope that made it clear. And let's keep on going. This measure. And instead of playing the F sharp with our third finger, we're gonna play it with our fourth finger, meaning we're gonna be in half position, right? And then here we have D sharp, half position, right? F sharp, it's just minor third, right? Oh, that's a misprint. It's supposed to be a E right here. Alright. So from the previous measure, so D sharp half position, right? And then open string. For the when you do it the second time, a lot of people play on the second position. to get a different tone. If you want to do that, that's fine. I don't, because I'm lazy. And then here, 4-3-1, and then shift to second position. And then I go back to first position here. Like this. Right? It's just a major scale down. So, I think until there is a pretty good phrasing for the purple. Alright. Let's figure out what chords we're playing now. So here we have D, F, and then G sharp. And then B, right? So if you know what that spells, G sharp, sorry, D, F natural, G sharp, B, it spells out diminished chord, right? But let's figure out which diminished chord we have to put in, because as you know, diminished chords are all minor thirds apart, right? So if you start on G sharp, it's gonna be G sharp diminished, right? If you start on B, it's gonna be B diminished. If you start on D, it'll be D diminished. If you start on F natural, it'll be F diminished, right? So we have 4 options right now. But in this case, we only have one correct answer. And how can we know that? We can go to the next bar and figure out what chord that is, right? What chord we're outlining with these notes. So we have a clue there here, right? So here we have A minor. So in normal cases, we have diminished chords for the 7th degree, right? So if we think about how we're kind of modulating here, we can argue that we're modulating to A minor right now. And to get there, we're using G sharp diminished chord, diminished 7th. And then here we have another diminished chord, right? Right? But so normally we would think it's a D sharp diminished, but I have a different theory, mainly because how I think of Bach right now after many years is kind of how jazz musicians think nowadays, right? In the end, Bach was a improviser, and I think he utilized a lot of the same techniques that we're still using, I guess. So here we have D sharp, F sharp, A, and C, right? Normally we would associate the F sharp, F F sharp A and C natural as part of D dominant, right? But we don't. Here we have D sharp. However, it's actually still part of D dominant. If you're a jazz musician, it is a very common thing when you see dominant in a minor key. We use a D7 flat 9. Now, some of you might think, what in the world is that? Well, it's exactly that. So we have the 7th note being the C, right? The 9th note of D major scale would be E, right? Because 8 is the octave, right? D to D. 1 note above D, 1 degree above D is E. But if we flat that, that will be E flat, or the same as D sharp. However, I wouldn't argue that. I actually don't think it's D7 minus, or I don't think it's D7 flat 9. And that's because if we take a look at what it's resolving to, it goes to I think it resolves to E minor, right? And here, if you think about E minor, let's momentarily think about E minor scale, right? So the 5th degree above E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This so E, F sharp, G, A, B. So B dominant will be, our dominant that resolves to the tonic, right? If we treat E minor as the tonic, then B7, B dominant, will be our dominant. So, but if we omit the B, the root of that chord, you simply get, so it's B, it's gonna be like that. So it's B, D sharp, A, or D sharp, F, and A. F sharp and A. That's why we have those notes, because it's part of a B7 chord. So we're resolving back to E minor, right? From the blue the blue section starts off with E, and then we end on E at the purple section, right? I would say that's part of the phrase here. All right, moving on. If we look at measure 15, we have the same fingering pattern, the same string crossing pattern as, where is it? This A7. So 3, 2, open, right? What happened? Ah! So it'll be the same fingering pattern as that A7 before. So how to find that position? You just play that C natural with the open string with your second finger, and then the third finger below on the string below is going to be the F sharp. So this shape, this finger shape of, you know, half step down and over, or half step up. Anyway, this shape, this fingering shape, is always going to be a tritone, right? Same here. That's going to be a tritone, and it's also going to make a F sharp. Tritone is exactly the middle point of an octave. Fun fact. So it goes like that. And then same thing, right? And then next measure goes here. So we play open 3 and 2, 1. And then here is right? Open 4, 1. And then this is the same chord as measure 3. The last chord, it's gonna be D7 with G on the bottom, right? We saw this before here at measure 3, right? Same fingering, same everything. And then if you were to guess what chord comes next, what do you think it'll be, right? So we always had D7, D dominant as the dominant, and if we know dominant goes to the tonic, and if we've seen it before, right? So here, if you look at it, the dominant, which is the same pattern we're playing at here and the page, it resolves to G major, right? Now, let's see if it actually does resolve to the G major. I'm going to turn the page and let's play the first measure. Alright. And then if we look, and lo and behold, we do play G. We actually play the whole scale, but we go even further down, right? So, interesting. So we come back to G major here. Let's go until the fermata, and I'm going to take a quick break, right? Okay. So, we return to G major here. Pretty straightforward, the same fingering, same everything. And then we go to G here. Extension, right? F sharp. So that's gonna be 4 extended 4, or sorry, 4, 2, 1. So 2 and 1. So it's still spelling out G major scale. And then next part, this part is a little bit tricky, but I think it's really fun to play though. So, right? We're in first position, and then what we do is we go into half position to C sharp. Second finger on G string for that A. And then for that E, just slide into it. Like. And then you go back again. 1, 3, 4, right? It's G major. 1, 3, 4. And then next measure, we go into, it goes into a natural, right? C natural. Oh, okay. Yeah. So C natural. With A on right. I forgot that this is a sharp. All right. Did y'all get all of that? So Bach really likes to fake people out. He does he resolves the chord, but then he resolves the phrase, but then he keeps on going, right? He keeps on going, and then it feels like he's dragging on, or it's really not dragging on, but he's extending the phrase in a way that you don't expect, right? It's really interesting. So we figured out let's see, let's just mark this blue because it's still kind of like it's its own phrase, right? So we go to G, so, and then here C sharp. If we take a look at all the notes, C sharp, A, E. So if we play, and then it ends on G, right? G, E, C sharp, A. What does that spell? It spells A dominant, A7. And then, this is actually really cool. And then he plays, we natural that C sharp, right? And we lower that sequence, that E, and then we lower it one step, right? But in doing that, we're actually playing D7. Now, why do I think that's really cool? Well, okay, so it should resolve to G major eventually. But if you think about, if we take D7 and we pretend that that's the tonic, what's the dominant of that? D, E, so D is 1, E 2, F sharp is 3, G is 4, and then 5, A. So 5th degree dominant of D major is A. So A dominant. as we know, dominant should resolve to tonic, right? And it does resolve to D, but this is also a dominant. And D dominant should eventually resolve to G, right? That's our theory. And we're gonna see if he resolves it and how he resolves it. But in the meantime, this is how it's going to be. Let me play. Oh, sorry. So the blue phrase actually starts here, I would say. Oh, I totally forgot to explain these. Okay, so this is D7, right? F sharp, C, D. We go to G7. Then we go to C major. D dominant, and then G. Once again, if we think about G major, and we think about the phrase ending at C, this is actually really neat. And then G dominant, it should resolve to its tonic, which is C major. Right? And then C is the subdominant, so let's go to D7, and then it resolves G, and then back to A, and then D7, like that. So that's the harmonic motion that Bach is doing. Let me play the first part, and I'm going to take a quick break after that, okay? Alright, I'm going to play it slightly under tempo, in order for you to look at all the bowings and all the fingerings, alright? Alright. So 3E and 4E and be the first, well, not the first half. Well, yeah, it is the first half. And then we'll take a look at, right now I'm going to take a quick break. And then let's finish out the piece. As always, I hope this is helping. If it's helping you out, this guide, this study guide, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. And yeah, all right, I'm gonna take a quick break, okay? All right, so let's continue with the second half, where we left off. I'm gonna put green now. So we actually literally stop in the middle of a measure, right? That D, we hold it for the fermata, and then we keep on going. 1, and this is a bow, by the way. So I'm gonna do it both separately for now. Shift to second position. And then we go up the scale normally. So and then here we have E flat, right? So very interesting choice of notes there. So let's try that one more time. F sharp, first finger. Go back to first position. Normal. 1-1. First finger on C natural, 3, and then E flat, C sharp. So, and then we shift half step down. We replace the third finger D with our fourth finger, and then. Right? So that's how you play measure 24. So the important part is the setup, right? So A, B natural, C natural, we're going to first finger, first finger. And then we're still holding that. Right? Everything's in first position here. I like to keep it simple. Here, not so much. Alright, let's take a look at this measure. So it's open G, B, and then we shift to first finger on the G, and then we do extension here. That's the reason why we do this fingering. Some of you may be like, oh no, that's hard. Is because we want to keep all the notes on the same string, right? Otherwise, we're going to have to do a lot of string crossing, and it's all legato, right? So in order to avoid basically doing two string crossings. In order to avoid that, we're doing that pattern in third position. And I know it's a little bit annoying, but it really helps to have that position. It's a very useful position. So yeah, that's how you play that. And then you shift to first position. I play 3 on the C sharp and then extend back. Here it's B flat, A, G sharp, and then back to A, but with the 4th finger on the D string. And you can tune that with your open A, right? And then keep on going. So this is all bunch of arpeggios and scales and really patterns of a chord. If we take a look at what chord it is, you'll realize it's kind of interesting. Alright, so if we take a look at here, how you can find out the chord is also by looking at the scale that you're playing. So for example here we have C natural and F sharp, right? So this is also called, so we're getting into church modes right now, if you, we already talked about dominant, tonic, subdominant, and all that. This is another layer down. So each degree, each chord of a scale, the chord degree, also has a corresponding scale, corresponding mode. So in this case, we're playing A. We start on A, but we're actually playing D dominant. Still. And then here, you think we're going into a different key because there's a bunch of accidentals, but here, think of it like this. It really is just outlining this note and this note, but with the note above and note below, right? And then so that's all it is, and then we keep on playing. So that's all D7, right? So I would say this is D7. And I would explain that E flat with flat 9, I guess. You don't have to. That's how I see it. And then here, we still go from D major, D dominant to G. Here we resolve halfway in between, right? The measure. And then we go from G. And then here, if we think about it again, same deal. So B flat, A, G, right? B flat, A. Okay, maybe it better to explain it like that. So the that figure is really embellishing the B flat. That's an alternative fingering that I've done before. Stay everything on the D string. I'll put it in. And then here, so I think that chord is part of an A major, A major. A dominant actually, right? You can kind of see here. Already spells out in that measure. So if we say that this is A7, still goes to A7, A dominant, and then A dominant should resolve to D major, and if we look, and we can confirm that it is indeed resolving to D major, and we can see that because of this whole scale, right? That's a whole D major. Now, interestingly, it's not D dominant or D7 or anything like that. It's a D major. So we have modulated. All right. So that's the green section. If you add the bowings, so let me explain how to do the bowings here. So you're technically at the tip, right? So you're going to be at the tip, and then for the 3 notes, pull, and then save, pull, save, right? So on the 3 notes, always try and pull, and then there's a lot of bowings that you can do for that measure. And then D major. Alright, so that's the green phrase, and then it goes to like that. So that's a second phrase. All right, so hopefully you follow me until there, right? Here you can start on the C on the A string, right? And then the second time, fourth position, it's up to you. I think I do both on the D string because it just kind of keeps the sound consistent, the tone of the sound, right? Like if I play it on the A string is a little bit brighter, right? And if I go to D string on the second time, it's a little bit more opaque. That's my opinion. But if you want to do that, that's fine. If I tend to stick to the same string. All right, here. So just a simple scale, right? Right, 4-3-1, 4-3-1, open. Same thing, but we go down to C natural. So and then here, if we do an extension, we get to our B. And then A or B. And then your A is going to be right there. So basically you're always going to end on the last note, the very bottom note of the scales with your first finger, right? Second position. And there you just keep in what is it? Fourth position. Or second position. Yeah. Yeah. So just remember that it's going in sequence. So if you think about it, it's just kind of making the scale go on forever. It's called octave displacement. So if you keep on following the note, so it's playing the same scale over and over again, but because you're skipping, you're kind of going up an octave every time. So it's a pattern, right? It's a pattern that he's using. And yeah. So you can do that pattern when you're improvising, when you're practicing major scales. That's something that you can play around with. Let's see. All right. Now let's get to the fun part. So here we stay. Alright, so this part, it can get confusing, but just focus on the first notes, right? Like that. So ignore the A for now. So I'm not gonna play the A for a second. Right? So if you take a look at all the highlighted notes, let me highlight them. Na-da-dee-da. So how I like to, it's kind of confusing because it can get repetitive, but think of it like this. So, and then you have this pattern, da-da-dee-da, right? But this is going to repeat. Da-da, once, twice, 3 times, da, 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 da. And then it goes into a different pattern, right? So let's take a look. So that's the first part of this phrase, right? So focus on that, and what you can do to help with your left hand. This is a combination of the bow and the left, but I think it's more difficult on the left because your finger can't touch the A string while you're doing this. So how you can practice is play the A string always as you're practicing this part, right? Like this. And if you can hear the A strings clearly, remember to make a tunnel, right? Make a tunnel with your hand. Don't squeeze your thumb. Try to curve your fingers, right? That's the key. Let me write the fingering down. Yeah, so basically that's all it is. Two times, third time, and we go on, and we shift down to fourth position. So that might be the confusing thing right here. So, let me make it a bit more simple to explain. Alright, so that's gonna be the third variation of this gigantic D dominant section. So, all the notes that I highlighted so far, they are going to be played on the D string. Just keep that in mind. All the highlighted notes on this second part of the orange phrase is always going to be played on the D string. That's going to be the key of this section. Okay? So let's start it. It's a little bit tricky, but not really if you just kind of take a moment and decipher what's going on, right? So I'm just going to play the highlighted notes and notice where I'm going, right? So, and then we shift down to fourth position. Stay in position, right? Right, so not. So practice it like this. Measure for measure. And then this is the pattern. C. And then for that B, we're going to shift into our first finger. In that way, that D, we can play it with third finger. So, D, C, C, so this is the pattern. From pickup to 35. So like that. It may be confusing. One of the ways you can kind of figure it out is the bowing, bow direction. I think bow direction will help you in terms of the phrasing. So for example here, da da dum ba dee dee ding da dee dee ding da dee dee ding da dee dee ding da dee dee ding. So I would phrase it like that. Oh my goodness, Bach. This is why I love and hate Bach. Because you can phrase it so many ways, you can interpret it so many ways. This is the way it makes sense for me. So that for me, that's the melody, quote unquote melody of this whole part, right? So in this whole section that I pointed out, it's going to be all the A notes are going to be on the A string, and then everything else is going to be on the D string, right? As I said, how you practice this part first and foremost is double stop, do everything together with open A, right? Starting from the orange all the way, from measure 31. Play it slowly. Second time. Third time, final. Go up the scale. So first practice it like that. And as I said, the bowing will help you remember where to change, right? So once you do that, the next step will be just practice your string crossing. Between your D and A string, right? So for this one, it's going to be easier if you're slightly more in the middle. We're not gonna play it in the frog because it's a little bit difficult to move there. We're not gonna play it out on the tip either because it's strenuous to move, right? So somewhere in the middle. I use about this much of the bow. And the reason why I had you play in double stops is that's where your elbow level should be. And your focus should be on the D string, your bow focus, right? So even if you play double stops, you can put a little bit more pressure on the D string. So the D string sounds louder, right? And this is everything's going to be just your forearm going up and down like this, your wrist doing this, and your fingers going like this. So those are the three movements, right? That's kind of how you make a wave. So that's really all you're doing. So remember, we have the elbow to forearm, right? And then we have wrist, right? And then we have the fingers, so we can, the wrist and fingers kind of move together, right? So kind of practice that. You're kind of drawing like a wave with your hand, like that. You're just flapping your you're just flapping your arms, really. But that's really all you're doing. When you're moving horizontal movement to it, it kind of gets tricky. But imagine you're drawing a figure eight, right? The infinity symbol. Like if you imagine that you're drawing an infinity, I think that helps. it slowly first. So that's the bow aspect of this, right? And if you add it together, this is how it's going to sound. Alright, so that's how it sounds. I hope that helps. One tip about this part, what I do is I kind of, as I press down, I kind of move, I kind of push it a little bit towards the G string. I don't know if you can see, but I'm kind of bending the string sideways. So I give myself a little bit more room to not touch the A string, right? But you just gotta make sure you're tuning it. See how I'm kind of pushing it to the side? So that's a little trick I do. Maybe it'll help, maybe not. Some tips there, right? So that's the orange part. Now let's go to the red part, because red part, now we're just switching over, right? Let's make the red part the final phrase. So same deal here. If we follow just the red notes, right? If we just follow the red notes, you'll notice something. So, if you don't know already, when a scale goes by half notes, all the way half notes, that's called a chromatic scale, or a chromatic movement, right? So, that's a little nugget of knowledge. So this is going to be just that. So the first one, because it's on the D string, you really can't tune it with the D string. You can tune it with the A string, right? But starting from here, you can tune it with your D string as well. So practice it the same way, right? starting on the A. So that's how you practice your left hand and how you can tune as well, right? For example, that D should sound very in tune. That F sharp and F natural, you can try and hear the major sound and the minor sound, right? Especially the thirds, you'll notice that if you're out of tune with the thirds, so minor third and major third, it just sounds weird and bad, right? So this is a really good way to train your ears, train all the different intervals that you can play, and yeah. So that's how you would practice the left hand. And for this section on the bow aspect, it's the same thing, except instead of leaning more on the D string now, we're going to lean more on the A string. So we're gonna. So when you play double stop on the D and A, you're gonna try and put a little bit more pressure on the A string, right? I think it's a little bit difficult on the up bows. So try to squeeze a little bit your bow. So I kind of do that on the up bows, right? On the up bows, I feel like I'm a little bit more above the strings. Like I try to bring the weight all the way over to the A string, just to get that A note speaking a little bit faster, right? So yeah, but that's on the up bows. I'm talking about the up bows, right? So try to practice that. Try to practice D-A, D-A. And then A-D, A-D. That's gonna be the difference in terms of bow. Literally just starting on the other one. But it is a different sensation. So I would give it a little bit of time exploring both of it. Yeah, just explore it. Just take your time. Feel. Just notice how it feels on the arm. You shouldn't feel any tension. So try and relax as much as possible. Very loose, right? Very circular motions. All right. So if we continue, the important notes are already spelled out here, right? So this one, we're always going to be in fourth position. So let's just play notes separately and get our fingers comfortable. So how you can tune that chord, right, is first tune the D with the first finger. And then you tune the third finger. And try and hold that position, right? It's really hard to do this, but the next one, you're going to lift your third finger and then bar the bottom two notes, right? So D, A, G. So that A and G, right? And then here, three on the F sharp, 4 on the C natural, D, this position is a little bit more difficult. And then we resolve it to that. So, if we write the chords, G, D suspended, D dominant, and then G. Alright, so how can you practice that part? Well, just like how I did it, first tune your fingers, right? Get used to playing those parts. I would say the D suspended is the hardest because you have to bar and then you have to have enough strength with your pinky to press down on that G, right? So I would just hold that position as long as you can until you feel a little bit of strain. The idea is you're getting comfortable with the position because at the speed that we play, you're only playing less than a second, maybe a second, right? But you gotta be able to be so comfortable that it playing 2 seconds, playing 1 second is super easy for you, right? And the only way you can do that is if you hold that position, right? And then try to relax your thumb, keep your pressure, kind of pull it towards you, right? No pressing your thumb against the neck. The idea is you're hanging onto your cello or the neck. So that's the hard part, right? So hold the position. I sometimes like to play a pizzicato because you can play all 3 notes, right? And then like that, right? How I will practice it, first hold the positions, hold the chords for longer than it's written, right? Just hold it for like 4 seconds, maybe, and the next day 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Hold it for a long time, right? And then what you can do is play this double stop, right? So try and play it as double stops like that. It's kind of hard, but if you can do that, the next part becomes easier. The next part is actually playing the bowing. Let's do the double stops one more so you can observe it. So we break the 2, right? And then top 2. Same pattern, but the opposite direction of the bow. And then here you can prepare the next chord by lifting up your first finger, right? Because you're not playing the first finger D when you're doing the top 2. And then as you play the next chord, you can drop it down, bar it. And in this case, when you're playing that second A, prepare your third finger. I would do that. So it's a little bit of choreography here. I'll do it once more. So this is the actual bowing now, right? I lift up, prepare the first finger, bar it, while I'm playing this A, third finger goes on, 3 and 4, and then first position, or first finger. And then when I'm playing this C, I'm preparing the B here. So to make a really smooth transition in between the chords, the arpeggios, chords, whatever, you have to prepare your fingers a little bit more in advance. So lift, prepare. When you're playing the G solo, kind of prepare your first finger like that. When you're playing that A, prepare your F sharp. And as you're playing F sharp, prepare your C, right? So that part's a little bit difficult right there. Lift, and then 3, 4. Like that. So in real time, it sounds like this. So hopefully it's the little details like that, just preparing your fingers in advance, that's gonna help you be a little bit more fluid in between the fingerings, right? That red part is a little bit tricky. It may take a little bit of time, but I think you'll be fine. All right, so let me just quickly write some chords here. So orange part is still D7. I would argue that this is still D dominant. And then, yeah, still D dominant, but chromatic, and then we go into G major. Alright, so the reason why I divided the piece like this is, I think, the phrasing that you should be thinking about. I think if you try and play everything all at once, all the Bach, all the movement all at once, it kind of gets overwhelming. But if you break it down into little chunks like this, I think it's a little bit easier. So, let me play. So how I would practice is like that. Everything's separate, right? And learn phrase by phrase. So learn the yellow phrase, right? So let's play all throughout, right? I'm gonna play through each phrases, and then so play until there, and maybe until the first note of the next, right? And then once you can play that section with the bowing or separately really well without stopping, play the next part. So that's the blue part. Blue part is a little bit longer, right? It's a little bit more extended. So you can spend a little bit more. The reason why I like to study like this is because once you learn the pieces, you know where to look for in terms of which part you're having trouble with, which part you're having trouble with. It takes you more time. You kind of have to spend some time with it, choreographing it, practicing it, repeating it. But having it like this, phrase-wise, is very helpful. So we just played through the light blue. Now let's play through the purple. Let's say, I'm gonna be marking the phrases differently. Please forgive me if I'm stopping. Was that the purple? You know what? Sorry. Scratch that. Purple and blue will be related, but you can practice them separately, right? So, sorry. You can go until there for the purple phrase, right? Let me make some correction here. I don't know why I did that. And then the blue section, right? I think the blue section is pretty straightforward because it uses the finger patterns that we've seen before. Oh, come on. Alright, so that's the blue part, right? So the idea is you're practicing in smaller chunks. That way you're not as overwhelmed as if you were to just read all the piece, right? Because if you practice it like this, for example, the blue section is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.5 measures, right? 7.5 measures, and then if you take a look at the fingerings, you've seen the fingering pattern before. You've seen that 3, 2, and open, right? We play it at in the light blue one, right? So you'll start to notice that you're utilizing the same patterns, the same fingerings, in a lot of different places. All right, so the green section after the blue section, right? And then we start up bow on the A and feel, because it comes in the second 16th, feel the first beat as a like da 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 dum, right? So you gotta give it a direction, because it doesn't because it doesn't have the first note. Da 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 dum. You gotta give it a direction and land on the next beat, right? Well, yeah, I would say until the next measure. So ba da da da. So if you're feeling it every quarter note, but yeah, still feel it in big beats. Da da da. Ba da 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 da, right? I think that's going into a lot of details that if I start talking about it, it'll take too long. All right, so green phrase. Pull, say, pull, say. I just played through. Yeah, so that's the D section, right? Or the green section, excuse me. I think I've always slurred these. So this section is quite a bit of scales, right? All right, and then going into the orange section. The orange section till the end is kind of like the final hoorah, right? 1. Second time, third time. Keep on going. And that's the red part, right? I would consider the orange part and the red part together. All right. So practice the phrases like that. Just spend your time, on each phrase. Learn the notes first and then the bowing. And I think you'll be okay in terms of that. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be it for the lesson today. Do I want to play one? Let's play once through all the. Yeah, I'll play all the Prelude all the way through. And we'll call it a day after that. All right, ready? Alrighty, folks. Oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, folks. And that's the Bach Suite No.1 Prelude. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It was a doozy. There's a lot to talk about Bach. I love talking about Bach, as well as, what I always thought about Bach is, even when I was playing piano back in the day, right? I would always hate learning Bach. Any piece by Bach. I would just hate it because it's so difficult, right? But then afterwards, once I mastered the piece, I would love playing Bach because of the genius of his composition. There's so many things that you can interpret. There's so many different ways you can interpret. Theory-wise, you can talk about it. And I love just kind of making a connection to our modern era. For example, the notations that I'm using, or the chords or scales that I know from jazz, right? Improvising from jazz. I think it's fantastic. So, thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And next time I will be playing the second movement, or the second movement of the suite, which will be Allemand. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and happy practicing. Bye.